A lot of this mental health stuff I had to deal with myself. I don't want to speak on behalf of the entire culture, but my experience in an Indian household, mental health is not a thing. It might be in terms of like, you're crazy. So there's like a catch-all term of like, you're crazy. Like you need help, kind of crazy, but then that's it. It's like black or white. It's like either you're okay as a human or you're crazy. And so depression, not a thing. Anxiety, not a thing. Like you're either complaining or you're being way too sensitive for no reason and overthinking things. I don't even know the words for those in Hindi or Punjabi, like depression, anxiety. There's obviously a lexicon in most languages for things like that, like language, but I don't even know what they are because no one has said those words in my life. And that's when I realized, I'm like, I need something else. I used to have these anxiety episodes, like these mini anxiety attacks. And I would just have like these waves of like this feeling of like, oh my God, something's happening to me. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't articulate it. And I didn't understand why, because I was living a perfectly normal life. Like I did karate, I did gymnastics. I was like top of my class in school, but it just happened.
As his younger sister and living in the same household as him, I remember physically seeing how his anxiety affected him at such a young age. And it was scary. At times it was scary for me as well because I had no idea what was going on with my brother.
Like most of our mental illnesses, there's definitely a genetic component to all our illnesses, right? Which increases your vulnerability. So if you are genetically vulnerable to it, it increases your risk. There are certain things that happen to us along the way in our lives, right? What happened to you as a child? How was it that you coped with some of the things that happened to you? So all the life events that happen to different people during the course of their life, that also increase or decrease the risk, right? So sometimes what happens is one stressful event, one crisis is what it takes to bring out these underlying vulnerabilities and express itself.
It's in your head is probably the sentence that you'll hear the most, especially, I don't know if this is a stereotype, but as an Indian child born in a Canadian environment. And so hearing that constantly, it's all in your head, is probably the worst thing you could tell someone who's going through something like that.
I know the word for crazy. Boggle, you're crazy. But it's almost like a joke. I don't even know if you could say that in a serious situation. It's degrading to say that. It's not a word you use to try to bring compassion into someone's life who needs help. I feel like most of it in my situation is nature. It has to do with certain things that happened in my life that built up, or my unhealthy relationship with myself that caused a snowball effect over time, and it was kind of like it was bound to happen. Earlier this year, it came back. It was a typical day at work, and I came home and I'm eating my dinner and I can feel like something's off. Like sometimes, you're just having an off day. And I'm like, okay, I finished my dinner. I go upstairs to just lie down on the bed, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, I can't lie down. Something's about to happen. And then I start to just freak out, and I'm like, holy shit, this is happening again. And I actually think at the time, I'm thinking like I'm gonna die. So I ran into the bathroom, I locked the door, and that's when I started to like black out and like hyperventilate. And I'm like, I need to sit down because I'm probably gonna like hit my head off the table or something if I don't. And then I called my sister, and she's been like my guardian angel throughout all of this.
It was very overwhelming as a sister first to hear your brother going through something like that. I remember my biggest goal with Jamie was to just get him to be in a place where he was stable and able to breathe, because he was not breathing.
So I stayed with my sister in Mississauga, and one day she woke up and she's like, that's it, I can't deal with this. She's like, I'm taking you to the hospital just to get you checked out. And I was really hoping that they would find something, because the last thing I wanted was them to say, there's nothing wrong with you physiologically, it's just in your head. You know, one of those things. I didn't want that. I wanted a problem, and then I wanted an easy solution to that problem.
I think with self-acceptance comes responsibility, right? Responsibility for being involved in your care, being involved in your treatment, right? If you don't accept your illness, it's very difficult for you to accept the treatment, right? If I tell you you have high blood pressure and you need medication, and you tell me, no, I don't have that, then why would you take the medication? You're not going to take it, right? So it's not going to be helpful for me to prescribe it if you're not going to take it. So the only way I think people accept treatment is when they believe that they have that illness and it can be helped by the medication. So I do think acceptance is a very important part of recovery.
I think it has affected my relationships. There is this fear I have with just connecting with people. It's like, will they accept that part of me? Because I have finally had to look myself in the mirror and say, I need to accept this part of you. Like, I want to be able to tell my story to myself in a way that empowers me, instead of when I look in the mirror and I'm like, why did that happen? Why did you have an anxiety attack? Like, are you weak? Are you not able to deal with life? I don't want to have that voice. I want to have a voice where like, this happens and I got through it.
So the main relationship you want to have is with yourself to start.
Yeah. So yoga, it always seemed like, you know, one of those like church going type things where it's like, it's part of like the religion and culture. Becky and me went to this yoga camp when we were little, and it was funny because they thought we were like two white kids because our names were Jamie and Rebecca before we landed, and they had never had like Canadians be a part of the yoga camp. So they were really like, they didn't know what to do. They're like, we don't know how we're gonna structure the program for these two, and we're like, yo, no, like we're Indian, like we can understand Hindi and stuff, and they're like, okay. I never saw yoga as an activity that could help me grow as a person. Not that church doesn't help people grow or can't help people grow, but I just always felt like it was one of those, not force-fed, but things that a family passes on to their children just because they did it, with no real like deep explanation. But I sat down and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time now that maybe this is the thing, you know, that's going to help me.
Yoga is good because, again, any kind of meditation or self-reflection is helpful, right? Plus, you would also get the physical activity that we do know is helpful for mental illness.
So the yoga classes that I love the most are the Ashtanga yoga classes, which is like a traditional yoga flow class. And so you come in, and the way the classes that I go to, they start with like a relaxation where so you start standing, and one of the things I like is that you start with an intention. So you close your eyes and you just have this intention, like what do you want to get out of the class? And for me, it's always just to have that connection with myself, a deeper connection and understanding with myself, and just feeling strength, just personifying strength through the movement. Strength in terms of emotional strength, physical strength.
Jamie, growing up with parents who viewed yoga as something that was physical and spirit, like there was a melding of mind, body, and spirit for them, and you know, having friends in a culture in the West of it being a very physical, body-centered practices, I think in the last year what I've seen is someone who's kind of they've merged more, and it's become a personal practice for Jamie. He's a great student. Jamie listens well, and he's got a good kinesthetic awareness of his own body. And I think that that's part of the challenge with having a mental disorder of any sort, is when you're very kinesthetically aware. You know something's wrong, but you don't necessarily understand why. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I behaving this way? And I think what's improved for him through the yoga asana practice and self-awareness that comes with it, of setting intentions, all of those things, I've seen him become more self-aware.
One thing that I feel like I am not immune to, similar to a lot of people with yoga, is I force my body on like physically sometimes into a certain pose or posture where like my body's just not ready. And that's just gonna come with just practice, and like your muscle memory starts to develop, or you understand how your body works, and everyone's body is different. And some postures, physiologically, some people's bodies just aren't able to do it the way some yogi in a book is doing it. Like it just looks so crisp, and it's like physiologically you just can't. So you have to learn how to find your own goals and what your limits are. Like, what is success for you? I think that is a narrative that will also allow me on an emotional and spiritual or mental level to understand what my limits are when I'm dealing with a stressful situation, or I'm dealing with a particular trigger in life that could cause another panic attack or an anxiety attack. And part of that has to do with just being honest with yourself when you're in a particular yoga flow. And that honesty translates into, how does my body or my emotions, like my mental body, how does that behave in a situation? And how do I keep myself protected or keep myself safe or nurtured in a way where I can minimize those panic or anxiety attacks?
Every single time he talks about yoga with Denise, it's nothing but positivity, and I know that it's helping him grow and strengthen what I know he already has inside of him, and really understand that, everyone lives with anxiety, but you can control it. You can learn to cope with it in a healthy way, and that's where that movement piece comes in.
The life event's happening anyway, right? But our ability to react or respond. So I'm seeing someone who is becoming stronger. He's strengthening the neural pathways between response and reaction. I'm very proud of the work he's done. Yeah, I feel blessed to be part of that journey with him.
Everyone's fighting their own battles, and it's sad and ironic that as a social species, or as a society, where our strength comes from sharing and communicating. The things sometimes that are most painful or most difficult, we keep inside. We keep it a secret. That really held me back from pushing through and finding solutions, finding tools that work for me. And when I opened up, which is so scary to do when you're dealing with something and you think you're the only one who's dealing with it, man, it was amazing. I have all these tools now, and I'm talking about it. I'm talking to you. Hey, I dealt with this, and clearly things are changing. And it all started from developing that relationship with myself.